Okay, so here's the thing. Your grocery bill went up, your Amazon cart got more expensive, your next car is going to cost you more. And the crazy part, the government told you it was taxing China, not you. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's just how tariffs actually work. And almost nobody is explaining it honestly. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how a trade war becomes a personal finance crisis at your kitchen table. And more importantly, what you can do right now to protect yourself. Stay with me. This one's going to change how you read the news forever. Let's start with the claim you've probably heard. We're putting a 25% tariff on Chinese goods. China is going to pay. Sounds tough, sounds strong. There's just one problem, it's economically false. Here's how a tariff actually works. A Chinese company makes a product. It ships it to the US. When it arrives at the port, the US government charges an import tax. That's the tariff. But who writes that check to the government? Not the Chinese factory, not the Chinese government. It's the American importer, the American business that bought the product. And what does that business do with that extra cost? It does what every business does. It passes it down the chain to the retailer and then to you. The Peterson Institute for International Economics studied this after the 2018 to 2019 tariffs. Their finding was striking. Nearly the entire cost of tariffs on Chinese goods was passed on to American consumers and businesses, not absorbed by China, not split, passed to you. So the next time you hear we're making China pay, remember this moment. Now let's zoom out, because this isn't just about a slightly more expensive TV. Tariffs interact with the entire economy like a gear in a machine, and when that gear jams, every other gear feels it. 3 macroeconomic forces you need to understand. Number 1. Tariffs are inflationary. When the cost of imported goods rises, that feeds directly into the consumer price index, the main measure of inflation. And remember, the Fed fights inflation by raising interest rates. Higher rates mean more expensive mortgages, more expensive car loans, more expensive credit card debt. One trade policy, a dozen ways it hits your wallet. Number 2, supply chains don't move overnight. American companies have spent decades building global supply chains for efficiency. You can't just make it here in 6 months. It takes years, sometimes a decade, to reshore manufacturing. In the meantime, costs stay elevated, margins shrink. Businesses lay off workers or raise prices, usually both. Number 3, retaliation. This is the one that really stings. When the US puts tariffs on other countries, those countries don't just shrug, they hit back. China targets American soybeans. The EU targets Harley-Davidsons and bourbon. American farmers and manufacturers lose export markets. Jobs disappear in red states and blue states. This is called a trade war, and like every war, both sides bleed. Okay, let's make this real. Let's talk about your life. Electronics. Roughly 70 to 80% of consumer electronics sold in the US, phones, laptops, tablets, have major manufacturing in Asia. Tariffs on these categories mean the next iPhone upgrade, the next laptop for your kid's school year is going to cost more. Apple, Dell, Samsung, they've all already begun raising prices or warned they will. Groceries. You might think food is safe. It's not. Tariffs on steel and aluminum raise the cost of cans. Tariffs on agricultural equipment raise the cost of farming. And when other countries retaliate against US agriculture, domestic supply shifts and prices change. You feel it at the checkout line. Cars. This one's massive. The US auto industry is deeply integrated with Mexico and Canada. Tariffs on auto parts, even partial ones, can add thousands of dollars to the sticker price of a new vehicle. And used car prices follow new car prices. There's no escape lane here. Housing. Tariffs on Canadian lumber, which the US imports heavily, drive up construction costs. More expensive construction means more expensive new homes. Fewer new homes means existing home prices stay high. The housing crisis just got a new villain. And the cruel irony, the people who feel this most are not the wealthy. Rich people can absorb price increases. Working and middle-class Americans, people already stretched thin, they feel every single dollar. Alright, you didn't come here just to feel bad about the economy. You came here because you want to do something about it. So let's get tactical. Move 1. Buy before the price increases hit. If you know you need something in the next 6 to 12 months, a laptop, an appliance, a car, consider buying now. Tariff price increases often take 60 to 90 days to fully roll through the supply chain to retail. In many categories, you're still buying at pre-tariff prices. That window closes fast. Move 2. Buy American or buy local, strategically. I'm not saying this for political reasons. I'm saying it for financial ones. Products made domestically aren't subject to import tariffs. Farmers markets, local manufacturers, American-made goods. They become relatively cheaper compared to imports when tariffs are high. This is the market working in your favor. Use it. Move 3. Lock in fixed rates. Tariffs leads to inflation, leads to Fed hikes, rates leads to your variable rate debt gets more expensive. If you have a variable rate credit card, a variable rate HELOC, or an adjustable rate mortgage, right now is the time to look at converting to fixed rates. Don't wait until the Fed moves. Move first. Move 4. Audit your budget for import-sensitive categories. Go through your monthly spending. Identify categories that are heavy on imports. Electronics, clothing, furniture, certain foods. Ask, can I buy less? Can I buy differently? Can I substitute? Build a 3-month price buffer in your emergency fund, specifically for tariff-driven price spikes. This is financial preparedness, same as keeping extra cash for inflation. Move 5. Look at your investments. If you have a 401k or brokerage account, understand that tariffs create winners and losers in the stock market. Domestic manufacturers might benefit, retailers heavily dependent on imports get crushed. This doesn't mean panic sell anything, but it does mean now is a good time to check how concentrated your portfolio is in import-dependent sectors. Talk to your financial advisor, or at minimum, read your fund's holdings. Move 6. Diversify your income. This is the big picture move. In an environment where prices are unpredictable and jobs in certain sectors are vulnerable, anyone in manufacturing, agriculture, or retail tied to global supply chains having a second income stream matters. A skill you can freelance, a side business, an online income. Not sexy advice, but it's real. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Tariffs are a policy tool. Sometimes they have legitimate strategic goals, protecting industries, reducing dependence on adversaries. I'm not saying they're always evil. What I am saying is that the cost is never zero. And the cost is almost never paid by the foreign country. It's paid by you, in higher prices, in higher interest rates, in fewer jobs in the industries that get hit by retaliation, in a housing market that gets even further out of reach. The politicians who pass tariffs rarely live paycheck to paycheck. The economists who model them rarely shop at discount grocery stores. But you do. And that's exactly why you need to understand this. Knowledge is your only unfair advantage in a system that wasn't designed with your kitchen table in mind. So learn it, share it, and start making moves. If this video helped you see the economy differently, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who need to hear this. Subscribe if you want more real talk about money and markets without the spin. I'm here with Dollar&Demand for you. I'll see you in the next one.